Good morning and welcome to the June meeting of the Housing Opportunity Fund Advisory Board. We'll be getting started in just a moment. I want to direct everyone's attention to the screen. There is ASL interpretation available. If you would like to pin, currently Chad is providing the interpretation if you'd like to pin his video so that you can follow along. Okay, so we will begin with a roll call. Lena Andrews.
Here.
Oliver Beasley.
I'm here.
Jamil Bey. Joanna Deming.
Present.
Knowledge Build Hudson.
Peace. Good morning. I'm here.
Council President Teresa Kale Smith. Mark Masterson. James Myers. Paul Spradley. Sonia Tillman.
Here.
Derek Tillman. Diamante Walker.
Here.
Adrian Wanaha.
Here.
Present. And Megan Winters.
Here.
We do have quorum and we'll begin. We'll get started with public comment. Do we have anyone present for public comment, Jeremy?
No.
No. Okay. And all right, so we will roll on along to discuss the HAP program.
Did you accept the minutes?
To approve the minutes.
We do have to approve the minutes. I skipped over it and went to public comment, which is why it was not next on on the agenda. Yes, thank you for that. So we have the minutes from our May 6th meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So
To
moved.
approve, this is, I second Sonia.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This is Lena. I have to recuse myself because I wasn't there.
Any other abstentions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now we will go with a presentation on the Housing Assistance Program.
Thanks, Kelly. So today we have two items for authorization today. One is for the Hilltop Alliance for an increase of their HAP contract in the amount of $150,000. Additionally, we're seeking authorization for a contract increase for Rebuilding Together Pittsburgh for an increase of $200,000. These increases are because these two agencies have spent down their previous contracts through 2020 and are able to take on more projects at this time. Pretty straightforward. Any questions? All right.
If there are no questions, do we have a motion to approve these increases?
This is Adrian Wanaha. So moved.
Second.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry, was that Sonia or Megan? Or both?
I think it was both of us.
Okay, you both came off, both of your boxes lit up and I wasn't sure.
It wasn't Sonia.
Okay, all right, so Megan with the second. Any abstentions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
all right, great, motion carries. And now while we are flying through our agenda, the administrative items for the advisory board. We don't have any committee updates. I believe we all wanted to get started with the special session on RFPs, which is scheduled for next week. So hopefully following that, we'll have some reporting out of from the committees. I don't know if anybody on the advisory board has any other administrative items to call to our attention, but that's all we have on committees. And
Kelly, I have a request. For the June 8th meeting, staff will be prepared to walk the advisory board through the current process, how we're evaluating the projects, what kind of things we're taking into consideration in relation to equity and fair housing. So that's the general direction. If the advisory board has any specific things they would want staff to touch on, just email them to us so that we can be prepared.
thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is our annual allocation plans community survey. So this is every year we reach out to the community and get, seek feedback and information and input on how we are going to spend the following year's allocations. And it's that time again where we need to start looking at that survey and thinking about what that looks like. The RFP for community organizations has actually already gone out for them to conduct this process. So we're going to get started on that. So we have this one out in our packets. But I help put it up, but you can't really see it. But it's it is the survey, and it's got draft labeled across it. So I wanted to go over this today, since we did have a lighter agenda, and we will have a special session next week. And as we get further along in the staff committee reports, it looks like we'll probably have another special session. So I didn't want us to have a third if we didn't need to. And since the agenda was lighter today, we really kind of utilize some of this time that we already have set aside to talk through this survey that we're planning to send out to the community. So if everybody can pull up that piece, I don't know if you want to go through it question for question or share any general thoughts. But unless we are going to have a total overhaul, I think we can probably, between this meeting and a series of emails across the advisory board and staff, can really work out any of the details of the survey. So while I give everybody a minute to pull this up, Bettina, do you want to go through the outreach timeline?
Yep, absolutely. So the RFP went out to the pre-approved slate of community outreach and marketing firms last week. It's going to close this Friday. We've already received one proposal from a firm. We'll review those applications next week and then start the contracting period June 21st. We're going to have a 6-week community outreach period where we'll be collecting community outreach and doing the survey. We'll be collecting surveys over the phone and online. Given the COVID environment, it's still not advised to do in-person meetings. So we're still restricted to that virtual environment, but that's why we are going to be doing over the phone interviews as well, so that we aren't just relying on this digital environment. The survey will be again open for 6 weeks, and then we will be preparing that survey report like we do every year, submitting it to the advisory board. This year we are 2 months ahead of schedule than we were last year, just to really prepare enough time for that community feedback, and then enough time to analyze the report, and then have it available to the public should there be any amendments necessary to the allocation. And then we'll have preliminary discussions in August, and then have enough time for the advisory board to submit the draft annual allocation plan in September for the September 2nd advisory board meeting. So we are starting this process pretty earlier on in the year than we typically do, but that again is to ensure that we have enough time to get the drafting in place, and then to ensure enough time for the community feedback process.
Great. So as everybody can see, we're kind of in this period. Nobody can see, no one actually can see my mouse, but we're here in this second phase, trying to make sure that we have this lined up so that we can begin getting the feedback out towards the end of the month. So what we have in front of us is what we prepared last year. I don't know how people feel that process and commenting went. If we have any suggestions, things we want to comment on in terms of the timeline, but also specifically this actual document that we had sent out to the community to get feedback on. We did the Survey Monkey, we did the phone calls, et cetera, last year. Thoughts, comments, concerns, things we'd like to modify about this document or the survey?
I was just curious about the online only. It seems like some things are opening up. The city's releasing their community festival grant. A lot of like sports are resuming and things. So I was just curious, why we wouldn't also have come to some of those events or, be a physical presence, since, we do miss out on some people that aren't as online savvy. I know phone calls can be helpful with that, but what other option?
A lot of the opening up is due to some political pressure. This is not the advice of public health people. There are still communities in Pittsburgh where fewer than 25% of the folks are vaccinated. So we're looking at a statewide, wealthier folks are vaccinated, where we're approaching that 70% that the governor wanted, but that's not true in neighborhoods.
Joanna, to your question, at this point, the URA is following guidance from the URA's coronavirus action team, who are setting the guidelines for what we can do and what events to hold and when we come back to the office. So at this time, they're not allowing us to do in-person events in the summer. If that changes, we can revisit, but we got to follow those guidelines.
Are there
Thank you.
any other engagement opportunities outside of the survey? So even if it was like online, some type of town hall, or some type of other ways folks can communicate, call line, something of that nature.
Yeah, so part of the RFP application is the consultant is required to host 3 virtual community meetings to collect feedback, and then also to provide information on the annual allocation plan on HOF programs as well. So we will be providing community meetings throughout the process as well, throughout the 6 weeks. HOF staff will certainly be providing community outreach opportunities as well to connect directly with community members. So yes, there will be opportunities outside of just the online survey. That is certainly important to provide those opportunities to community members.
Would some of those contractors or consultants be prohibited from doing in-person events, or is it just the URA cannot itself host in-person events?
We'd have to check on that, Kelly. Some of our contractors do sign a COVID waiver form that they would follow some best practices. I don't know if this would fall under that, so we'd have to check.
Okay, I was just curious. There's lots of mixed messaging around guidelines and what is safe or not. We definitely want to be cautious. Okay, great. So any feedback on the survey itself? This is what we came up with last year after a few hours of diving into the weeds. I thought it went well, but we did want to make sure to give everybody the opportunity to weigh in on the survey itself, as well as the process before we go ahead and get started, so that we can have a robust and long enough public feedback portion. And again, that was an attachment that was in the packet. It's 4 pages. And this is the Survey Monkey that we did last year. All right, well, no hands, either physical or virtual, seem to be flying up. If you have any comments or questions or concerns, thoughts on this, please email them to, would that be you, Jeremy, or would that be Bettina?
Bettina.
Jeremy? Okay, wait, no?
Bettina.
Bettina, okay, sorry. So send those to Bettina as soon as you can so that we can stay on track to get this out to folks by the end of the month. I think, you know, summer is a good time for engaging folks, so we want to be sure to stick to our timeline as best we can. And with that, we will have some staff reports on program expenditures, excuse me, and impacts.
So I will go ahead and take these two, Kelly. So these are our charts that we see every month. This is for down payment and closing cost assistance. We have committed 80% of our funds, or I should say committed and closed about 80% of our funds at this point. So a majority of our first-time home buyers fall between the 80% and 115% AMI range. And so actually 107 of our first-time home buyers fall between that 51% AMI and 80% AMI range, which is really important to note. I think in this chart, it's a little hard to tell because the 80%, 115% AMI got lumped together, but to really draw out that number, a majority of those households are actually in that 51 to 80% AMI range. And then you can see the map and the geographic distribution. It's pretty equal across the city. For our homeowner assistance program, 88% of our funds are committed, but actually at this point, I think it's safe to say 100% of the funds are committed to, if you consider those on our waiting list as well. You'll see in our following charts, we did receive our 2021 funds from the city. So we'd like to thank the city for that as well. The URI did receive those. So you'll see that reflected in our funding as well. But as far as our 2018 to 2020 funds, those have been fully committed when you consider those on our waiting list as well. We've served about 231 households to date. So that program, of course, is very well in demand and in need throughout the city. The geographic distribution is pretty equitable as well throughout the city. This is for the rental gap program. It looks a little bit different this month. So we've broken out the number of total units. So in the past, you've just seen a dot on the maps, but it doesn't fully give you the picture of how many units are actually created or represented behind each of those points. So you can see with rental gap, for example, there's a total unit count of 443 HOF funded units. So even though there's only one plot behind each of the, there's one dot for each of those projects, a lot of those projects actually represent many, many units. Same with the for sale development program. HOF has funded 40 for sale development units behind each of those dots as well. So this map represents a lot more affordable units behind each of those dots, and the charts on the right represent the projects and the applicant and the number of affordable units created. And these are the programmatic expenditures and impacts. So you'll see we do have 2021 funds now reflected on the column on the left. We do have our not yet committed column increased now with the 2021 funds. The HAP, the Homeowner Assistance Program, you'll see has calculated and taken into account the 2020 funds that were committed to the HAP wait list. So that 2.3 million of 2020 funds we've already stated has been committed to the wait list. So we're already counting that as though it's been committed. So we're just saying, you know, of the 2021 funds that's been transferred over from the city, those are the funds that has not been committed yet. So we have about 18 million that has not been committed of HOF funds, but this gives a complete picture of where we stand in terms of HOF funding. Of course, this will give us a good picture of where we should be going into for 2022 funding now that we're going into the allocation planning for 2022 funds as well. This is the dollars and household unit counts. Did anyone have any questions about the expenditures or impacts? Okay.
The demo dollars, that's the legal program?
No, so that's separate. Yeah, so the demo dollars, since we haven't expended anything on that yet, there isn't a line item on here. But once we do have the the first invoices from that, then that'll be reflected on this chart. But the legal assistance program you'll see on this chart here, yeah, is separate.
I know we've seen an increase in need, you know, from COVID relative to HSP. Now, of course, there's been additional resources dedicated here. Have we seen an increase in applications for any of the other programs since COVID?
Yes, the homeowner assistance program has been overwhelmed with demand since COVID. People are staying home, wanting to do home repairs, more use on the home. And so we get probably 20 to 50 calls a week asking about this program.
Okay.
This is Shana Madden. I just wanted to comment on the for sale development program. It felt like in the last year, our applications for the for sale development program slowed down. Either projects got derailed or were put on hold, you know, due to so many reasons. But we now have a steady stream of applications coming in that we're processing, and you'll see projects coming before this committee in the next couple of months.
Regarding the HAP program, I believe the next slide sort of reminds us that the application period is open. When does that close?
June 24th.
June 24th?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is the wait list, I'm sorry, just a practical question. Do you go through the wait list in a first come, first served way, or how does that work?
Yes, first come, first serve for completed applications.
Okay, and so obviously the sooner the better because we have an extensive wait list on this particular program.
That's right, and although we will still accept applications through June 24th, it does not mean we'll be able to fund all of those applications.
And Jeremy, is it, I believe, oh, I'm sorry. I believe we have enough funds for 65 applications. Is that correct?
Yes, and 40 happy applications, which are not HOF, but it's similar.
How much time is it taking someone now to go through that program from applying to get services or once you've selected them?
About 12 months. Probably worth it to note here that we are working on redesigning the HAP program, which would allow homeowners to choose their own contractors and not have to wait to be in line for our contractors. It would allow it to serve more people faster. So we are working on that, and we'll hope to bring some program guideline changes to your for your consideration in the next couple months. I guess it's a good segue as any. So yeah, we did open the wait list last Monday. So we'll continue to take applications through June 24th. That's why I'm in the office, because our team is rotating, processing these applications because they're coming in every single day. So the application is on our website. And like I said earlier, we have a unified application for both well, for all programs, HAP, HAP Plus, and HAPPY, the accessibility program. So if anyone needs accessibility needs, they can fill out the same application. We also wanted to make the advisory board aware that we will be asking for a special session to be scheduled in late June to discuss the URA's proposed plan for the administration of the Housing Stabilization Program. That will be scheduled shortly, but we wanted to make you aware and to ask you to please attend because we will be talking about kind of what will be happening with this program. And the last announcement is that the next HOF board meeting will be Thursday, July 1st. And of course, we always want to provide the housing resources available through 211, as well as the county's emergency rental assistance program. And of course, now the legal assistance program, which is running smoothly, and we've received about 30 referrals in the last 3 weeks. So high demand and going smoothly so far. I think that's it. Kelly?
That exhausts our agenda for this morning. If anybody, if there's nothing else from any other advisory board members, we can have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we don't need a second to end a meeting. So with that, I look forward to seeing as many folks as possible next week at our special session to review the RFP process and talk that through a little bit. And then again, towards the end of the month for this special session on the Housing Stabilization Program. Please do your best to fill out that doodle when it comes, because out of that will be coming some agenda items that we'll be voting on the 1st. So with no further ado, oh, and please send any comments that you have on the survey to Bettina by the end of next week so that we can incorporate those into the survey before we officially contract with anybody. So with those other housekeeping items, I think we are done here, and have a wonderful day and try to stay out of the rain, unless you're into the rain, in which case enjoy.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.